Gift from God. A couple became parents of black quadruplets, but the doctors tell them this. Martha and Elias had been trying for years. Their dream of having children felt more distant with every failed attempt. Doctor after doctor told them the same thing. The chances were slim. They had nearly designed themselves to live a life without children, learning to live with the ache of unfulfilled dreams. But just when hope seemed lost, something unexpected happened. One morning, Martha felt different. An odd sense of fatigue, unlike anything she had experienced before. She brushed it off at first, thinking it was stress or maybe even a flu. But as the days passed, the feeling didn't go away. At Elias's urging, she visited her doctor. What was supposed to be a routine checkup became a moment of pure disbelief. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. Martha sat in stunned silence as the doctor told her she was not only pregnant, but pregnant with quadruplets. Her heart raced and tears filled her eyes as the weight of those words sank in. 4 babies. Elias was at work when she called, and she could barely get the words out. He rushed home, and they sat together, absorbing the news that their family would grow not by 1, but by 4. It felt like a miracle, a gift from God. The months that followed were a whirlwind of emotions and preparations. They had to transform their small home into a space fit for 4 newborns. Family and friends helped as much as they could, but the reality of 4 babies coming at once felt overwhelming. The house buzzed with excitement and nervous energy as Martha and Elias prepared for what was to come. Then there was the other surprise. During a routine scan, the doctor revealed that all 4 babies were fully black. This left Martha and Elias stunned because only Martha is from Afro-American origin, though it wasn't something they had expected. They embraced it wholeheartedly. To them, these children were their miracle, unique in every way. As the due date approached, the community around them rallied, offering support and prayers. Martha and Elias felt a powerful mix of emotions, excitement, fear, and a deep sense that their lives were about to change in ways they couldn't fully understand. But nothing could have prepared them for what was still to come. The day finally arrived, earlier than expected. Martha woke up in the middle of the night with sharp pains, and she immediately knew something was happening. Elias grabbed the hospital bag, his hands shaking as he tried to stay calm. The car ride to the hospital felt like a blur, both of them too overwhelmed to speak. At the hospital, doctors rushed to prepare for the delivery. Martha was exhausted, but there was no time to rest. The medical team had been preparing for this moment for months, knowing the risks that came with carrying quadruplets. Martha had been closely monitored throughout the pregnancy, and now all that preparation was about to be tested. As she lay in the delivery room, the tension in the air was thick. Elias stood by her side, his heart pounding. The moment felt unreal. Nurses and doctors moved quickly, their faces a mix of concentration and concern. One by one, the babies began to arrive. Tiny cries filled the room, and with each new voice, Martha and Elias felt a wave of relief and joy. First came Tavi, then Aya, followed by Zion, and finally little Noor. 4 perfect, beautiful babies. Tears streamed down Martha's face as she looked at her children for the first time. Elias squeezed her hand, speechless, as he stared at the tiny lives they had brought into the world. But the moment was not without its challenges. The babies were small, born prematurely, and the doctors immediately whisked them away to the NICU for care. Martha and Elias barely had a moment to hold them before they were placed in incubators, hooked up to monitors. The doctors reassured them that this was normal for preterm births, but the sight of their fragile babies surrounded by medical equipment filled them with fear. They named their children right there in the hospital room, looked through the glass as nurses cared for them. Tavi, Aya, Zion, and Noor, each name chosen with care, each child a symbol of their long, difficult journey. Martha and Elias couldn't believe it. They were parents of 4. It was a miracle. But deep down they knew this was just the beginning of a much larger story. The first few weeks after the birth were some of the hardest Martha and Elias had ever faced. The babies remained in the NICU, each of them fighting to grow stronger. Martha and Elias visited them every day, spending hours by their incubators, watching their tiny chests rise and fall. There were good days where the doctor smiled and said the babies were progressing well, but there were also difficult days where one baby's breathing would falter and another would lose weight unexpectedly. Tavi, Aya, Zion, and Noor were all different in their own ways. But what struck everyone was how connected they seemed to be. Whenever one of them cried, the others would stir as if they could feel each other's distress. And just as quickly, they would calm together as if some unseen force soothed them all at once. The doctors noticed it, too. There was something about their bond that felt deeper than just siblings. It gave Martha and Elias a sense of comfort, even during the most stressful moments. At home, the couple tried to prepare for the day when all 4 babies would come home, but nothing could prepare them for the exhaustion that came with parenting quadruplets. Between the hospital visits and late-night feedings, Martha and Elias barely slept. Their lives had become a whirlwind of bottles, diapers, and worry. Even with the support of their family, they felt the weight of responsibility in every moment. Sometimes they would sit in the quiet of the night wondering if they could handle it. Then came the medical concerns. One afternoon during a routine checkup, the doctor hesitated while reviewing the baby's test results. Martha's heart sank. The doctor explained that there were some unusual patterns in their development that needed further investigation. He didn't provide many details at first, just that more tests were needed. Martha and Elias left the hospital that day with a heavy sense of uncertainty. Every day felt like a test of their strength. The love they felt for their children was immeasurable, but the fear of the unknown was just as powerful. They clung to hope even as doubts crept in, wondering what else lay ahead of their precious quadruplets. Weeks after the initial concerns, Martha and Elias were called back to the hospital for a meeting with doctors. The couple sat in the sterile room, holding hands tightly, their hearts pounding. The head doctor, Dr. Qasim, entered with a stack of papers and a serious look on his face. Martha's throat tightened. Elias could feel his pulse in his ears. They had been preparing themselves for bad news, but nothing could have prepared them for what came next. Dr. Qasim began to explain the results of the additional tests. He spoke carefully, choosing his words as if he didn't fully understand them himself. There was no question that the quadruplets were healthy, physically at least. But there was something unusual about their genetic makeup. The doctor paused, then shared something extraordinary. The 4 babies had a genetic bond unlike anything he had ever seen before. He described it as a kind of genetic anomaly, something that went beyond normal sibling connections. The way the babies reacted to one another, their simultaneous cries, their calming in unison, was not just emotional but biological. There was something in their DNA, an unexplainable link that tied them together in a way science couldn't fully grasp. Martha and Elias sat in stunned silence. The doctor went on, explaining that this connection was something rare, almost unheard of. It wasn't harmful, he assured them, but it was something that set their children apart from the rest of the world. It was as if their bond went deeper than just being quadruplets. It was something more profound, almost mystical. Elias felt a wave of disbelief wash over him, trying to make sense of what the doctor was saying. Martha stared at her hands, her mind racing. What did this mean for their children? Was this a blessing or something else entirely? The room felt heavy with the weight of the revelation. As they left the hospital that day, neither Martha nor Elias spoke. The drive home was filled with quiet reflection, each of them trying to process the reality that their children were not just special, they were extraordinary in ways no one could explain. As the months passed, the bond between the quadruplets only grew stronger. Martha and Elias marveled at how their babies seemed to move and breathe as one. But there was something else, something that hadn't fully been understood until now. Their family cat, Celine, had taken an unusual interest in the babies from the moment they brought them home. She was a stray that had wandered into their lives a few months before Martha got pregnant, and they had adopted her without a second thought. From the day the babies arrived, Celine never left their side. Whenever one of the babies cried, Celine was there, curled up beside the crib, her purring instantly calming them. But it wasn't just comfort. The babies reacted to her presence in a way that was hard to explain. As soon as Celine appeared, their crying stopped, their tiny faces relaxing as if her presence soothed them in ways nothing else could. Then one night something happened that confirmed that Martha and Elias had only begun to suspect. It was around 2 a.m. when Martha woke up to the sound of frantic scratching at their bedroom door. She jumped up, heart pounding, and opened the door to find Celine yowling loudly and darting back and forth. Instinctively, Martha rushed to the nursery. When she arrived, her heart stopped. Zion, one of the boys, had stopped breathing. His tiny chest was still, and his face had turned pale. Without a second thought, she screamed for Elias, who rushed in, and they immediately called for help. As they waited for the paramedics, Celine stayed by Zion's side, purring softly, her eyes never leaving him. By the time the ambulance arrived, Zion had started breathing again, as if by some miracle. It became clear that Celine wasn't just a pet. She was their protector, somehow connected to the babies, just as they were to each other. From that night on, Celine never left their side, always keeping a watchful eye. Martha and Elias couldn't explain it, but they didn't need to. They had witnessed the power of that bond, a gift not just in their children, but in the animal that had become their guardian. Years passed and the family grew stronger, always bound by the unspoken connection between the quadruplets and Celine. It was a bond no doctor could explain, but Martha and Elias didn't need an explanation. They knew, deep down, that they had been given something truly extraordinary, a gift from God that had changed their lives forever. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.